Hi everyone, CFL Park Hopper here, and today we are at Walt Disney World to do some park hopping. So they have not had park hopping since they reopened the parks after COVID-19 up until now in 2021. So starting January 1st of 2021, they have introduced park hopping back in. And today we're going to talk about, is park hopping worth getting on your ticket? What are the pros and cons of park hopping? And that kind of stuff. So we're going to move to each park and I'm going to give you some tips and hints as we go. All right, so this morning I'm starting out at Disney's Animal Kingdom, and let's talk about, is park hopping worth the price of my ticket? So if you buy tickets to Walt Disney World, you're gonna find out that they're based on the day that you come. So they base the price, I should say, on the day that you come by popularity. How about that? Or busyness. Okay, so the less crowded that the park is going to be on the day that you choose to come, the cheaper the park ticket for the day. And then if you come in the peak season, it's going to be, expensive to come. And what we're talking about for prices is it can range from like around maybe $90 a day up to, like, I've seen it as high as like $135 to $140 a day. So it just depends. How to check the price of tickets is when you go to the Walt Disney World website and go to tickets, a calendar will pop up when you go to purchase your ticket. So you're going to input the first day of your trip and it'll give you the price of that ticket. And it'll, give it for however many days of however many tickets you buy, whatever, if you're going to come for 4 days or a week or whatever. So to add park hopping onto that ticket is an extra amount of money, somewhere between usually $65 to $85, depending on how many days you're going to purchase for your park hopping or your park ticket. So that's the first thing, is you have to decide, well, do I want to spend that extra expense on top of my day ticket? So let me give you some tips. If this is your very first trip to Walt Disney World, I almost suggest not getting Park Hopper. They have 4 parks here at Walt Disney World to experience, and I think if it's your first trip, you should definitely spend 1 full day in each park, absorb what that park has to offer without being overwhelmed with the idea of, well, now I'm going to have to park hop, and where should we park hop and what should we see? Because I feel like when it's your first trip, you'll just spend a lot of time running around and not seeing much of anything. Whereas if you can just concentrate on 1 park a day, it's a little bit easier to focus and absorb what you like. However, if you have been coming to Walt Disney World for multiple trips, then I would suggest you may want Park Hopper, because you may want more flexibility in your trip. You've now been to the parks, you've seen what they have to offer. Maybe you like certain things here at this park, Animal Kingdom. You know how long it's going to take you to experience it. And then you like things at other parks like Magic Kingdom or Epcot more, that will take more time. So you might want to spend more time at those parks. So I think that that's really the best way to base it, if you're going to get it or not, is based on what things you're interested in. And if you've never been, like I said, using 1 day at each park is important. Also, length of stay. So if I'm only coming to Disney World for 4 days, then I might just do the 1 park a day and be done with it. That way I can experience all 4 parks and have a great time. However, if I'm going to come for a longer trip, like say a week to 9 days, 7 to 9 days, then I may definitely be interested in Park Hopper, because I'm going to have more time to be flexible on my trip, based on, the amount of days I'm here. So I could do, maybe 3 different visits to Epcot and 3 different visits to Magic Kingdom. And maybe I only want 1 or 2 visits to Animal Kingdom and so on. And maybe I can do them like 1 morning at Animal Kingdom and spend the evening at Epcot, or do a morning at Hollywood Studios and spend the evening at Magic Kingdom. So it does offer that flexibility to your trip. And I think the more days that you're here, the easier it is to add in that flexibility. And so you might think, well, why would I want that flexibility? So there's things like dining options. If you're tied to 1 park based on that's the only park that you have for the day, then you have to eat in just that park. And maybe you're not too excited about all of the dining in that park, but maybe there's another park where you want to eat multiple times. So having that park hopping option could give you that option for dining. And we will talk about that later on in our trip here around the world today. Other things to keep in mind are how to schedule which park to do when. Like, how do I decide if I want to do Animal Kingdom in the morning versus the evening, or, you know, when do I go to Hollywood Studios and all that. So we're going to talk about that today too, and how to schedule your itinerary. And then we're also going to talk about pros and cons. So next up, we're going to head over to Hollywood Studios, and we're going to talk about trip itinerary. Let's go. All right, guys, so we've made it to our second stop, Hollywood Studios, and we're still talking about park hopping. Here at the last park in Animal Kingdom, we talked about what type of group should get a park hopper and that kind of thing. Here we're going to talk about how to plan your itinerary if you do get a park hopping pass. So if you're going to come for, let's say, 4 days, then I would do each of the 4 parks, one different one each time in the morning. And keep in mind, for morning times at the park, you have to have the park reservation. So as soon as you buy your park tickets, you can make your park reservations. It doesn't have to be done at a certain window of time. Like, remember, Fast Pass used to have to be done within 60 days. Like, I can buy tickets right now for October of 2021 and make my park reservations for 2021 in that October time. So I would plan your itinerary, and get a general itinerary of when you want to do what. And then when you buy your tickets, go on right away and start making those park reservations. So in order to park hop, you must visit the park that you've made the reservation at in the morning. And then after 2 p.m., you can park hop to any other park that has park availability. Now, most days, and of course we've only had January so far, and it's been low crowds here in January, all the parks have been available after 2. I'm not really sure if that's going to still be the case when it's busy, like spring break and summer break. I'm hoping that as they continue to up the capacity at the parks, they will be available, because I don't see why they would have people pay for park hopper if it's not going to be available. So I think hopefully you should be able to park hop to each park every day. Now let's talk specifically about Hollywood Studios. Hollywood Studios, if you want to ride Rise of the Resistance, which I'm going to walk towards Star Wars Land. Okay, so as I was saying, if you want to do Rise of the Resistance here at Hollywood Studios in the Star Wars Land area, you do have to have park reservations. You cannot do Rise of the Resistance on a park hop in the afternoon, and here's why. Rise of the Resistance is virtual queue only, and that means that you have to reserve it through the My Disney Experience app. They release times at 7 a.m., which is well before the park opens. You can reserve it right from your hotel room or anywhere. You don't have to be on Disney property to reserve it, so even if you're staying off property, it will work. And then they release it again at 1 p.m., and you have to be inside of Hollywood Studios at 1 p.m. And remember, park hopping starts at 2 p.m. So any day that you want to do Rise of the Resistance, which is right over here in Galaxy's Edge, you must have Hollywood Studios as one of your reserved parks. So as you're planning that trip itinerary, you're definitely going to want to plan for at least one morning to be a Hollywood Studios morning. Now, it is hard to get Rise of the Resistance. The virtual queue times fill up within seconds. So you may want to plan for more than one morning at the studios. It is also the park that fills up park reservations the fastest. So again, booking your park reservations right when you buy tickets, that Hollywood Studios is going to be the first park to fill up in park reservations, especially the busier weeks that you come of your trip. So if you're coming on holiday weeks, breaks from school, those kind of things, you're really going to want to prioritize how early you book those park tickets and get that Rise of the Resistance boarding group, because you've booked Hollywood Studios as your park of the day. And then again, as far as park hopping, you can go to any park after you have used your park of the day. So, and it just has to be after 2 o'clock. So I could show up at my park of the day at 1 in the afternoon if I wanted to, and then go at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to another park. It just has to be after 2, and you have had to have tapped in at the other park that you made the reservation. So I hope that that makes sense. If you are staying for multiple days, that is, I think, the best way to take advantage of park hopping. So if your trip is like 6, 7, 8, 9 days long, I find that that's when park hopping really comes in the best and the most handy, because you can be more flexible with your trip the more days you have. So it's easy to go for a few hours in the morning at a park that you made a reservation, and then maybe leave around lunch, head to your hotel, have some lunch, maybe swim or take a nap, and then head back out to the park in the evening. Keep in mind also the time of year that you're coming. Right now it's January. It's cool all day long. So it's easy to stay out at the parks all day and not get overheated, not get too tired. And like I could stay at one park until 2 and easily park up to another and get a full day's worth. However, if I come here in July, when it's very hot and humid, by noon, if I've gotten to the park when it opened, I'm gonna be very tired and hot and probably want to go back to the hotel and swim and take a break. Also in the summer, it rains here every afternoon, typically between 3 and 5. So being back at your hotel, maybe for a shower or a nap in that time could be a useful benefit, and then heading out to the park in the evening after the rain could work well. The other thing you have to consider is park hours. So here again in the winter, the park hours are shorter. So like Animal Kingdom sometimes is closing at 5 in the afternoon. I don't know that I would get a lot done if I went to Animal Kingdom after 2 o'clock and was only able to stay till 5. So I may only want to book that for morning times. It's just going to depend on what you want to do at the parks as well. You know, and that kind of goes back to how often you've ever come. If this is your first trip, that's why I would advise more doing one park a day, so you could spend a full day at the park and get all of the enjoyment out of it. If you come to the parks often, coming and, you know, splitting up that time between 2 parks in one day is a little easier because you know what you want to see and what you're there to experience in those few hours. So I hope that gives you some good ideas on how to plan for park hopping in your trip. We're now going to head to Epcot and we're going to talk about dining options that are available when you park hop to different parks. So let's go. All right, guys, so we've made it over to Epcot and we're down here in the World Showcase because this is where all the food is. And now in our park hopping video, we're going to talk about dining options. So what I like about having a park hopping ticket is that it gives you more options for dining. And here at Epcot, there's always a festival going on, it seems like, which right now is Festival of the Arts. And in March, it's going to start Flower and Garden Festival, and that's going to run all the way till July. And so they always have all these little food kiosks, like you see here, that have food for the festivals. And they're located all around the World Showcase. So if you want to just come and like sample food, the festivals are a good way to do that. But of course, also here at the World Showcase, there's tons of countries that have different restaurants. Like, you know, we're passing China and they have a restaurant. I believe it's closed right now, unfortunately, but a lot of the restaurants are open. So back in Mexico, which we just passed, they have 2 restaurants that are open for dinner. Germany, which is coming up over here, has a restaurant that's open. France, which is one of my favorites, has a restaurant that's open. So does Italy. So, and Canada and England. So yeah, the list goes on and on. There's so much great stuff to eat here at Epcot. And they also have like great quick service here on top of that. Like, I love just to come to Germany over here and just get a bratwurst, or head all the way to England and get fish and chips, or eat back in the bakery inside of France. So there's just so many great options here for dining that honestly, if I had a park hopping ticket and I was going to be here on my trip, I don't know, 7 days, 9 days, I would probably come to Epcot maybe 3 or 4 of the evenings of my trip and book some sit-down dining and maybe just some come around and eat the festival dining, you know, all kinds of different stuff like that. And the great thing is that I could be going to other parks in the morning and doing different rides and things like that, and then coming over here in the evening. Right now with the park hours the way they are, Epcot seems to always be open the latest. They're usually open till 8 or 9 and sometimes 10 if it's more of the busy holiday weeks. So it gives you something to do in the evening. Fireworks aren't really a thing right now, but you know, eventually fireworks will come back. And what I also like about park hopping when you have the option of, when there are fireworks, I guess I should say, is that you could go to one kind of park in the morning and go to a different park and see its evening fireworks and rotate around on your trip. So once fireworks do come back, that's something to consider a bonus, you know, for your park hopping as well. But mainly as far as other dining options, let's stick to dining for right now. You know, each theme park has restaurants that are sit down. a lot of the resorts have restaurants. So I think just having that park hopping option gives you the idea, like, you know, you might go to Animal Kingdom in the morning. Maybe you want to go have a sit-down dinner at the Polynesian, let's say, and then you could head over to Magic Kingdom in the evening. So it gives you that nice flexibility on your trip, I think, to book different kinds of dining options. All right. So now let's head over to Magic Kingdom, our last park of the day, and talk about some of the bonuses of having Park Hopper. All right, guys, so we made it to our final park, the Magic Kingdom, and now we're going to talk about some of the added bonuses, I guess, of having Park Hopper. So when we were just at Epcot, you know, I talked a little bit about when fireworks come back in, whenever that is. You know, it'd be nice to have Park Hopper because you can go to one park in the morning and go to a completely different park in the afternoon to see, or evening rather, to see its fireworks show. So that's going to be one blessing when the fireworks come back. But for now, you know, let's think about in terms of rides. So I'm going to head over here to Fantasyland, and we're going to talk about why Park Hopper would be a blessing with rides. All right, so it's no doubt that Magic Kingdom is known for some majorly iconic rides. You know, like here's Space Mountain, we're by the teacups, or by the Speedway. And especially with young children, you know, they may come to Disney and only be excited about a few things because they're young and so they don't really understand and grasp, or maybe they're just overwhelmed by the whole experience. You know, how the enormity of it all. So I knew a family once that when they came here to Disneyworld, the only thing that their child wanted to do was ride Dumbo every single day. And so they were really happy to have Park Hopper because they could come into Magic Kingdom at some point every day of their trip so that their child could do Dumbo. And then of course they could still do other things on their trip as well, instead of just being locked into the Magic Kingdom. You know, think about it like from an adult standpoint, Rise of the Resistance at Hollywood Studios. Very popular ride. You may or may not get a virtual queue. It's really hard to get. So you may want to have multiple days reserved for Hollywood Studios on your trip. However, if you only have one park a day as your trip, you know, you not have Park Hopper, then you're going to be locked into going to Hollywood Studios. So if you want to try for Rise of the Resistance 2 or 3 different days of your trip, and you're coming for 5 days, then you're stuck going to Hollywood Studios for those 2 or 3 days, full days, and missing out on some of the other parks. Which isn't a bad thing depending on what you prefer. But if you would like to see an experience at all, then it may be best to get that park hopping pass. So that way, once you've completed your Rise of the Resistance ride for the day at Hollywood Studios, you can park hop to other places like Magic Kingdom or Epcot, as we've said earlier, or even Animal Kingdom. So the flexibility built in with Park Hopper in accessing attractions, I think, is an added bonus in itself. You know, we already mentioned food as well. And let's just talk about spontaneity for a minute. So Walt Disney World, it's really hard sometimes to have a spontaneous trip to Walt Disney World because you have to plan. You have to plan around food reservations, and now you have to plan around park reservations. And it's like you have to have that reservation for each morning to get into a park. And so you have to have that kind of planned out now in advance which park you're going to go to. There's no more just waking up in your hotel room and, well, today we feel like Magic Kingdom, so let's go. Or today we feel like Epcot. You know, it's kind of like if you booked Magic Kingdom, then it may be very hard to switch it to another park depending on the crowd level at the time that you come to visit Walt Disney World. So having that Park Hopper built in to say, well, gosh, we have Magic Kingdom today, but I really feel like going to Epcot and just experiencing whatever festival's going on or having something to eat at France, gives you that flexibility with that Park Hopper to say, okay, we're going to go use our Magic Kingdom pass for a few hours, and then we're going to head over to Epcot and experience something there. So those are just some of the real bonuses and pluses that I enjoy with having the park hopping option, is just being able to do more than one type of park per day, being able to experience more than just a few attractions every day or certain types of food. Now, as I've suggested, if this is your very first trip to Walt Disney World, I don't really suggest getting Park Hopper. I really think that you need to spend one day at each park on your first trip to really get the full effect and understand what is at each park and to appreciate and understand it. But if you're coming on your first vacation and you're coming for about, 7 to 9 days, then I would suggest doing 4 or 5 days at the beginning of the trip for sure with just one park a day. And then perhaps maybe the last couple days of the trip you could do a Park Hopper. I think you can add it on, like I think you could go up to the ticket 2 or 3 days left of our ticket. Could we add Park Hopper? I don't see why they wouldn't do that. And then that way you could do the best of everything you've enjoyed after you've experienced all the parks at least once. So that's my main suggestions on park hopping. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helps you plan for your next Walt Disney World trip. If you liked today's video, hit like and subscribe down below to see more. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a new video, which is usually once a week. Thanks for watching.